Welcome to Everything You Need to Know. Today we are doing peppers, as you can see. Peppers, we're going to go over all of these. They have such great color, such great flavors. Peppers come from the Greek name capsicum, which means to bite or to swallow. They have actually been used for food since 7500 BC, so a long time ago. They were originated in South America and then spread to Central America. One story says that Christopher Columbus himself is responsible for introducing the chili into Europe. He was actually also responsible for the name red pepper. There's many different types of peppers, and they're used for vegetables to eat, for spices, as well as for medicine. Depending on where they're grown in the world and what type they are, they can actually have different names for the exact same pepper. For example, the spicy chili pepper can simply be known as a chili, or even just capsicum in New Zealand. Many countries around the world use peppers, hot or not, in their cooking. So in Spain, they make the chorizo, and that is a type of pork sausage, and it can range from picante, which is made with very hot chilies, or dulce, which is made with a sweet chili pepper. In Hungary, lesko is a thick stew made with hot and sweet peppers, and it's actually popular all throughout Asia. Serbia and Macedonia actually have people there preparing peppers in many different ways, kind of like us here in Canada. They put them into salads, they pickle them, they fry them, they cover them with tomato paste, onions, and garlic, as well as parsley, or they stuff them. And I'm pretty sure you can imagine all of those things that we've seen here as well. Did you know that capsicum, the other name for pepper, or the original name, has zero connection with the black pepper, and its Latin name is Piper nigrum. So just because it has a similar name doesn't mean they're related anyway at all. So the spice or the heat in the capsicum comes from the phytonutrient called capsaicin, which is a chemical that dissolves in fat and produces a burning sensation to any tissue it comes in contact with. And I'm sure you've experienced that. It's actually an irritant to every single mammal. However, birds have no reaction. The purpose of the capsicum within the plant is to keep that plant from being eaten from other animals, but allows those birds to eat it and then poop out the seeds to spread it around. How amazing is that, right? We know that there's a lot of different types of capsicums, and they have different amounts of capsaicin, the spicy part, and so varying amounts of heat. There is 29 different peppers that range from mild to brutally hot in spice, and this is based on the Scoville heat unit scale, and it ranges from 1 to 2 million in units. So that's a very hot pepper. Give you a bit of a reference. Bell peppers are number 1 on the list, and they range in that scale about 0 to maybe 100, very zero heat. Jalapeno is number 11, this one here. Number 16 is cayenne pepper, and that is this one here. And cayenne ranges from about 3,000 to 50,000 units of heat. Number 23 is that ghost pepper. I don't know if you've had that one before. Often I find that one in dips at Mexican restaurants, and that has a heat unit number of 1 million. The Carolina Reaper, which if you've heard of a really hot and spicy salsa or a sauce, that is one of the Carolina Reaper ones, and that has a heat unit of 1 to 2.2 million. But number 29 is called Pepper X with a heat unit of 3 million. So I couldn't imagine even getting anywhere close to that pepper. All right, so let's chat about bell peppers to start. We have all different colors, and you can see the great variety that Marianne has laid out here. We have the straight green that you see often in the grocery store, and then we have the greens that are turning, because did you know that that's what they do? This one is bred to only turn red. This one is bred to only turn yellow. They don't go from one to the next, but they don't stay green. They will change. Did you know that the bell peppers have actually 3 to 4 times more vitamin C than an orange, which is pretty crazy. And as far as nutrition goes, peppers are really low in calories. Not that we look at calories a whole lot, but overall they're low in calories because the macronutrients are all low. They have a lot of water and a lot of other nutrients, which we'll talk about. But for 1 cup, which is about the size of that pepper when you chop it all up and take out the middle and the seeds, there's only 9 grams of carbohydrate, which is only about a half of a piece of bread or a quarter a cup of pasta. So not a whole lot of carb. There is 3 grams of fiber in there though, so that's great, but only 2 grams of protein and 0 fat. So because the carb, the protein, and the fat are low, that means that the calories are going to be low. There is a whole slew of vitamins in peppers. Almost all of the B vitamins, B1, B2, all of those. There's folate in there as well. And then there's also vitamins such as A, we talked about vitamin C, but vitamin K, which is really good for the gut health. And then you'll find minerals such as iron, less than 1 gram, but almost a half a gram. There is potassium in there, so that's good for the heart. And then we have some really small minerals that we don't hear about a lot, such as manganese, that is in the peppers as well, copper, and zinc. So we do know that the way to get those vitamins into the peppers is by having them in the ground. So we get them into the peppers when the soil is good and nourishing. So what are some health benefits of peppers in general? So capsicums, this is the other name for peppers, they are known to lower the fat in our bodies, in the blood, specifically in the triglycerides, because it increases our metabolic rate. It increases how quickly we burn our calories because of that capsicum that's in there. So it is also low in fat, like I mentioned, and carbs, but high in vitamins. So it is also a good food for weight loss because, of course, there's fiber in there. Fiber absorbs water. There's a good amount of water in these as well. So that's going to help to stretch our stomach, signal the brain that we are full without eating a whole lot of calories. So as you can see, this is quite the rainbow in itself. We always talk about eating a rainbow, but right within the variety of peppers, you can get a rainbow. And these colors, like we've always talked, contain a lot of nutrients. And one of the main ones are different types of antioxidants. So there is beta carotene, and we know that's the orange color, the orange and the red. There's lutein, and we know that we need in our eyes to keep our eyes strong and healthy. And then zeaxanthin, which we've talked about in the past as well. There is, like I mentioned, a lot of vitamin C in those peppers as well. However, there is another vitamin, which is another antioxidant. It's called vitamin A. So after eating the pepper, that beta carotene that's in the pepper, the body turns that into the active form of vitamin A, which is called retinol. And then the body can use that as an antioxidant, which we know cleans up all those free radicals. So it goes around our body, scoops them up so that the free radicals don't damage our tissues, our arteries, our nerve cells, so that we are healthy overall. And vitamin A is known to prevent and treat heart disease, osteoarthritis, bronchitis, asthma, as well as cataracts. So vitamin A turned in from beta carotene turned into that active form is really good antioxidant in our body. So another important part about capsicum, it's known to block that pain sensation that we get that goes from the skin to the spinal cord. So it's very useful in medicine. They've taken that part out and really done a lot of studying on that. So because of the color, because of the nutrition, we know that there's a lot of immune boosting properties in peppers because of that vitamin A and vitamin C. But because I mentioned too, it has a lot of vitamin B's in there, particularly folate. We know that eating a diet rich in peppers, because of that B complex in there and folate, it is used to treat depression and stress-related conditions because of all those B vitamins. So in these end of winter months when it's gray outside, peppers are, with a lot of color, including the green, are a great vegetable to eat to try to boost our mood. So how do we buy peppers? So peppers need to be heavy when we buy them because that means they are full of water. We don't want them light because typically when they're light, then they have some wrinkling to them and they're getting older, they're dehydrating, and then they're not going to be as nutrient dense. So we want to find peppers that are bright, they're not dull, they're plump, they're shiny with nice tight skin. So when you roll your finger over them, there's no skin that wrinkles. So you also want to make sure that they're free from blemishes. There is no blemishes on these, but when you see a darkened spot on the outside, that means that likely the inside has started to rot. So even if there's a little one and you think, oh, I'll cut that out, totally fine, but the inside might have, be a quarter of that pepper or so that will be black or moldy, you'll have to cut out. But that's totally fine to cut them out. Ooh, Marianne says that there is one there. Yes. So hard to tell sometimes, especially when you get them in packages. But if you can see that in there, that stem area has some blackening around it. And when you push on it, it's soft. It's not firm like the other parts of the pepper. So that one, I suspect at least that middle is going to be moldy. You don't want there to be a whole lot of mold because even if you cut it out, the rest of it might taste moldy. So how do we store peppers? So peppers can be stored on their own, but even better in a plastic bag in the fridge for about a week. The reason for the plastic bag is to keep that moisture in and keep the air from flowing over them. That's going to keep them from dehydrating faster. So about a week when they're raw. After you cook them, food's only good in the fridge for about 3 to 5 days, usually because we mix them with meat. And then you can only save it in the fridge for 3 days after you've cooked it. Peppers can be frozen. So in the summertime, when they are ready in August, and you get a whole lot for a very little amount of money, you don't have to blanch them. So you don't have to throw them under hot water and then cold water to put them in the freezer. They don't really continue to ripen like broccoli or cauliflower does. So just chop them up. You can add them to onions if you'd like, or just put them on a sheet. And thank you, Marianne. Excellent. So that's what they did last year. If you can see, these are halves and quarters of peppers. So pretty fantastic. You can use these right from frozen. You can take them out, just leave them on the counter for even just 5 minutes. They'll thaw enough so you can slice them, you can dice them, or you can leave them just like that and stuff them with beef or lentils or rice or tomato sauce, and then cook them. And the really great part about having some like a pepper come out of the freezer is that it's not fresh, it's been frozen, so some of those cells have been broken already, so it's going to take less time to cook. So really helpful to have some peppers in the freezer when you want them, and then when you eat them, they're going to taste a whole lot better than ones that maybe aren't local because they've been shipped in. These will taste really good. Thank you, Marianne. Fantastic. So let's go through the assortment here that Marianne has laid out. It looks beautiful. So again, bell peppers are always sweet. They have no spice to them. They also come in different sizes, right? So this is a bell pepper as well. And it's really tiny. When you find these and you like to eat them whole and fresh, these are a great option because you can eat them in one sitting. Oh, thank you. So this, was the bag that this came in. And it's just like a bell pepper in a small size. So it is really nice to be able to just sit down and eat this. You can put a little bit of dip on it, a little bit of salad dressing. But Marianne was saying, you know, if you go to sit down and eat this, you maybe won't eat the whole thing, and then you put it back in the fridge, and then it might get dry, wrinkly on the edges, or slimy in a few days. So unless you're going to eat the whole thing at once or put it in cooking, the little ones are a really great option to have. And they definitely come in different colors as well, which is really fun. And the colors add so much beauty to your dishes, right? When we have beautiful dishes, they're not just one blah color, then we really do enjoy eating a lot more. So there's our jalapeno. You can typically get these in the grocery stores all year round now, often coming from Mexico. This is a nice large one. Sometimes they're only 3/4 that size, but I love how firm jalapenos are. They're not overly hot, and it is mostly the seeds that are the heat. So if it calls for jalapenos in your recipe and you don't like heat, you can substitute out for whatever pepper you have. But if you don't like the heat and you have one, just scrape out the seeds. Really good to not handle with your fingers. If you can put a barrier between, like a glove or just a paper towel when you're holding it and when you're scraping it out with a knife, then you're not going to need to worry about not touching your fingers. Yes. And definitely wash with hot soapy water after you touch a hot pepper. So these ones are hot peppers. These are called the habaneros. They're from the Dominican, so that's not too far away, so they have been shipped here. And it is nice to get a nice hot pepper in the middle of the winter if you're making a chili. These are chilies, and they come in the green color or the red color. They are also really great to add some kick to a dish. And so then we have lots of frozen options of peppers now. It's really, really great. And then we have foods that peppers are in, right? So you can add whatever food, peppers to foods that you'd like. This one that's really common now is a red pepper hummus. And then we have a roasted red pepper dip, which I believe is a cream-based dip. So it's a little bit of a creaminess to that. But then we also have whole roasted peppers. So roasting peppers is a bit of a process, but they taste really, really good. So it sometimes is easier just to get them in the jar. But all you do is you cut this in half, take the seeds out, put them on a tray under high heat, and it's going to blacken the skin, but cook the pepper. So then after that, you just put them in like you saran wrap it or put them in a brown paper bag, and then the skin's going to peel off really easily, and then you're left with a roasted pepper. So just like how we roast things like broccoli and cauliflower, tastes very different from any other way of cooking with steam. So just a nice option, a nice way to kind of spruce up your chili or your pasta dish. So this is paprika. So paprika is actually bell peppers ground up, so dehydrated and then ground up. So it doesn't have any heat and it doesn't have a huge flavor, but it has a nice color because peppers are a beautiful color. So it's a nice way to add some color to a dish without adding the heat. This is a mild paprika as well. This is a red bell pepper from Epicure, and all it is dehydrated pieces of pepper, and then they put them in here. So it'll have the texture of a pepper once it's rehydrated, so that is a neat thing to add to dips, especially that are going to sit for a long time, and then just keep rehydrating. This is our spicy side over here. So this one is our hot banana pepper rings. Now remember that hot banana peppers don't always have to be hot. Some of them are sweet, but this is the kind that you get on pizzas that often accompany your salads. And that is a really good way to eat hot peppers if you like them, instead of having to go out and search for hot peppers because they are hard to find. So these ones are the hotter types of spices. So we have crushed red peppers. So crushed red peppers are the seeds of the chilies and the skin and all the parts just dried. So that's why they're spicier than the paprika, because paprikas are just the bell peppers. So this is chipotle chili pepper. So that is another hot type of pepper. So it is just the pepper dehydrated and then ground, and your cayenne pepper. So depending on the level of spice you like, now you know what type of spice that you can use to equal the amount of heat that you're going for. Oh, digestive issues, Marianne just said too. The green ones are a little bit more bitter because they're the first ripening before going there. So it's like eating a green apple. If we eat a lot of green apple, that sourness is really going to make our stomach sour. So if you are sensitive to eating peppers, don't choose the green one. Go for the colored ones because they are riper and you're going to feel better when eating them. But if you don't have any digestive issues, they also work really good and have a really good strong flavor in different dishes. The question is, does cooking change that level of sourness? It'll break them down a little bit, but I find people who are sensitive to peppers are sensitive to cooked or raw. Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. Everything you need to know for today about peppers.